His anointing is empowering. The kingdom of the Lord is within me, and He's calling.
But I'm really excited because I've watched the journey, and I've enjoyed the journey. So I want to start with Winona Allen, who I affectionately call Wee. I met Winona many years ago, and I want a close-up of this, of my mentor and I, Rev Ev. So every time I see Winona, it is a Rev Ev moment. My first mentoring trip in Bermuda with Rev Ev, me sitting in her lap, really depicts my relationship with her. I always saw myself in her lap, always saw her as a grandmother, mother to me. I connected with her like that spiritually and emotionally and physically. We just reacted as if it was a mother and daughter, but yet a mentor, mentee, a Elijah and Elisha, a general in emotional healing. So the next two segments, or maybe three segments, will be dealing with emotional healing. So I think it's absolutely perfect to have Winona, that I met as a little girl hiding in Rev Ev's closet, wearing Rev Ev's shoes. But she is a product of emotional healing. She's a product of my mentor, calling her little girl, her little Nona, and then handing her off to me when she went off to college, and we just stayed connected. And so every time there's an opportunity for her to travel with me or do anything, I remember giving her the word of the Lord about this book. I don't remember her look because I ignored that. But I remember giving her the word of the Lord about this book and then just reading the finished product. I am so proud of Winona. Winona is a marriage and family therapist. Actually licensed marriage and family therapist, completed her undergraduate degree and then her master's degree, and she's operating in the workplace. But I think this book is probably one of many major products that she will have, that she did a phenomenal job on. Very therapeutic. I think it's very good for healing the whole person. It is a sister book, little sister, or daughter book to healing the whole person, spirit, soul, and body. Winona picks up on all of the different areas that I walked her through, that her education took her through, that Rev Ev took her through. She picks up on all of this and adds the clinical side as well as her personal testimony. So she is a poster child for healing the whole person, which I love. But in her own rights, she's done a great job with this book. You see this beautiful smiling face on the back. So Winona, let's talk about the book. This book, Ouch, This Hurts, A Journey to Emotional Wholeness. How did you come up with this title?
Well, I was thinking about emotions and pain. And I figured if our emotions had a voice, they would say ouch. Just like if naturally, if we were to get hit or something, then we would say ouch. So that's how I came up with it, because I figured, our emotions scream all the time when we're not aware of it, and they're probably yelling ouch. So that's why I titled it Ouch, This Hurts.
Good name. But I love on the front, they have these diamonds, and I'm always thinking about diamonds and how diamonds are made under pressure, that we don't admire them when they're covered with coal. It's the rough hand of God that rubs the coal off and adds value. What were you thinking about when you came up with this picture?
Well, I was thinking about my whole experience in my journey through emotional healing, that just like diamonds, they're in the raw, they're in the dirt, no one can find them. You really have to dig deep for them. And there's a process to getting the perfect diamond. And throughout that journey, diamonds, they undergo so many types of nicks and cuts and shinings. And the jeweler is the one that actually depicts which flaws actually stays. And so I was thinking, throughout my journey, how I had been poked, prod, cut, hit everywhere, just like a diamond.
I didn't do that, though.
No, you did not. just life circumstances, and how through that journey, how I actually shine. I can actually talk about a lot of the things that I had gone through, just like a diamond. I have value to it now. And so on the cover is actually a cave, where you can find diamonds in the back of a cave, but you also see the water, which is life, and then the diamonds actually shining with the sunrise. So
wow. So there's a lot of prophetic symbolism in there. You're really painting a picture of how you were developed, processed, all of that. That's awesome. I'd like to start on page 50. I marked up my book. Page 50 in your book, it says there are 4 types of abuse that I want to address in this chapter: physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and spiritual abuse. I started here. I started at an odd place in this book because my mother was the poster child for emotional, physical, maybe spiritual abuse as well. My mother dealt with a lot of domestic violence. My father physically abused my mother, emotionally abused my mother. In fact, a vision that I had that I included in the book, she was actually pregnant with me when my father broke her ribs, broke her arm. She was laying beside the highway, my aunt driving from Tallahassee to Jacksonville to find her, take her to the hospital. The doctors thought she should have lost me. So while he was abusing her, he was abusing me vicariously. So it makes sense that God would take an area of my life that I went through while I was yet in the womb and use me as a catalyst for healing. Healing women, healing men, healing people that have gone through physical abuse, emotional abuse, spiritual abuse. I seem to attract that and have the anointing for that, and Rev Ebb's anointing. Thank God for her. She was a general in my life that I felt like there was a real impartation there, because I don't know anybody that could walk you through emotional healing better than Evelyn Carter Spencer. Yeah. She was just awesome, absolutely awesome. But in reading this about your sexual abuse, so much abuse goes on in the world that it appears to be a way of life for many. Generation after generation experience the same kind of abuse. As a result of the abuse, victims have their courage and power stolen from them. This loss can contribute to opportunity for further aggression in the abuser. Now, and you go on to talk about the abuse. You've experienced how much of this abuse? Physical, emotional, sexual, spiritual. Did you experience all of these, some of these, none of these?
I experienced every last one of them. Physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and spiritual abuse.
And covering your story, you talked about the sexual abuse with your brother.
Yes.
Do you mind talking about that?
Not at all. My older brother and I were a year apart. And I can remember the first time where he just came to me. He said, "Let's do it." And I was stunned because I was like, "Do what?" And next thing I know, he began to show me what I needed to do. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then it progressed to the point where there was another individual in our church that he introduced me to and told me to go into a closet with this other young man to fondle my genitals.
Wow. Now, if I can interject, you're sitting here and talking about this as if you were sharing someone else's story. That is not taking your breath away. You don't feel like you're being tased. How did you, let me just read this part, because I've known you, I don't know how many years have we known each other?
Oh, since I was 12. Closely a mentor-mentee relationship, about 7 years.
Okay. And you're single, so how old are you now?
I am 38 and single.
Smile for the camera. For single
No
men
children.
that may be watching, after we investigate you, you may be able to date her. She's a good catch. All right. You can pay me for that later.
Okay.
Page 88 says, "My life was full of secrets.
Yes.
I never spoke of my childhood sexual abuse until I was 28 years old.
Yes.
I never spoke of the rejection and the abandonment issues until I was 29 years old. I was a type child that never spoke about my feelings. I hid within myself."
Yes.
Talk about that.
Well, I grew up under the impression it was like unspoken rules. I felt as though if I told what I was feeling, that my feelings wouldn't be validated, and that I would be in trouble. So I never really talked about things that were going on with me, and because I had a fear of my mother. And so because of that fear, I kept everything to myself, because all I can do is imagine her yelling or screaming, saying, you should have known this, you should have known that. So I would never say anything.
So what prompted you to talk about that at 28 and 29? What happened?
I was coming out of a time where there was spiritual abuse. And I began to address the spiritual abuse, which opened the door for me to go ahead and talk about the sexual abuse that I encountered growing up, along with the abandonment and rejection, because it's all under the same umbrella.
Oh, Dr. Rosier, I'm loving what I'm experiencing while watching Let the Prophet Speak. I'm so excited about what God is revealing to me through observing you. You are the epitome of obedience to God. You exemplify the character of God and training of God. Bearing pain without breaking, this word came at the perfect time to encourage us not to break. I'm committed to this process with God because I've discerned the timing I'm in. The more I go through without breaking or complaining, the closer and quicker I will be out of this season. I'm excited about my future, and I'm committed to God perfecting everything that concerns me. Bearing pain without breaking encouraged me all the more. I love you and will forever pray for you and your family.
Was there a precursor? What happened? What prompted you to start addressing it? Did you wake up one morning and decide and made a decision, I'm sick of this, let's talk about it? Did you have a flashback? Was there a trance? Was there a voice from heaven that said, knock, knock, Winona, it's me, God, let's talk about this?
No, it was more so when the spiritual abuse was no longer a secret.
Okay.
When it was no longer a secret, then that just opened me up to go ahead and talk about the sexual abuse growing up. And the abandonment and the rejection. I kept reading information about sexual abuse, about rejection, about abandonment, and because of my schooling, which also gave me the time to go ahead and think about some of the stuff that I had experienced. So
and
it allowed
the tools.
me, and the tools, how to overcome it and how to actually deal with it, that I began to just utilize them.
Okay. So did your education alone help you and bring you through that, or?
Oh no, absolutely not. You actually helped me.
Yay, I was waiting for me.
No, you actually helped, being able to talk with you, and having the prophetic side of you open up some things about my childhood, which dealing with the rejection and abandonment, and also coming to church, hearing the word, even going to counseling outside of church. I had a counselor I would go to once or twice a week to help me address
So the
this.
therapist went to a counselor?
Oh, absolutely. We need counselors ourselves.
Awesome. The therapist needed a pastor, the therapist needed a prophet, the therapist needed a counselor.
Yes.
The therapist needed a therapist.
Yes.
So you ran the whole gamut. You took advantage of everything that was available for you.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I at that point, I knew I was in crisis mode and I needed all the help that I can get. And I even got to the point where I started taking antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication because my nerves were off the charts. So I needed something to help me stay calm because I still had to work. I had no one to take care of me, so I had to do everything myself. So I could not just lie down and be at home, because then I'd be homeless because I would have no job.
Okay. So you had to cope with life while working your way through life.
Yes.
Okay. And there's a part of your book that I love this book. You talked about effects of repressed or buried emotions. And on page 19 it says, venting and discharging emotions involves vigorously expressing the emotion fear, sadness, anger, or dependency so completely you feel drained.
Yes.
The strength of the emotion is markedly reduced or eliminated. Let's talk about that. because you said you had to work, but you had reached a point of needing something for anxiety, needing something for depression. So your emotions were screaming, ouch!
Yeah, they were in a lot of pain.
Okay.
A lot of pain. And I would have to, because it was on my mind constantly, and because I counseled other people at the same time, I had to do something to maintain. And a lot of times I would go home and I'm thinking about it. I'm writing around in my journals all the things that I've been through, what my feelings were at that moment. So it became exhausting.
Journaling helps.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. But for every time that you were writing in your journal, you were re-experiencing
Yes.
the pain, the trauma,
Yes.
the images.
Absolutely. Everything. There are some of my journals, the paper is crinkly from tears, from just because I would cry while I would be writing.
Okay.
And then there would be times when I would have to stop writing because I couldn't see because my eyes were so full of tears. So yes.
So is it therapeutic to cry?
Oh, absolutely.
Why?
It's a form of release. It's a form to releasing emotions, because just like our natural tear ducts, they're used to cleanse the eyes. And the tears actually helps cleanse the emotions.
Okay. So you have more than just the head knowledge. You have experiential
Yes.
knowledge. You've experienced.
Yes.
So when you're talking to your clients and walking them through it, you're not just selling them a bag of goods.
No.
You're actually having to live by the same standards.
Yes.
Okay. So to understand the heart of the emotion is simply to understand what we are feeling and how it is kept alive. These emotions need attention before trying to heal. That's a good statement. The feelings we have on a day-to-day comes from somewhere, but many of us are not aware of where they come from.
Right.
Now, I'm looking back and listening to your testimony. How did you fare all of those years from 7, in the book you said you were 7 or 8 years of age when you were sexually abused by your brother?
Yes.
You had some other things happen, and you just kept burying these things and burying these things until you're working on your master's, or you finish your master's.
Yes.
And this, God pulls the scab off, I like to say it that way, and all of the pus is oozing out. And you realize that he has to clean out this wound.
Are you interested in the gifts of the Spirit? Would you like to be mentored? Do you seek knowledge of the purpose of the gifts in the local church? Then Day Springs Theological Seminary School of the Prophets and Ascension Gifts is the program for you. The School of the Prophets course curriculum includes 11 courses, 23 hours of required listening, and mentoring components that are aimed at helping you hone in on your spiritual gifts. For your gift of $30 or more, we will send you the School of the Prophet and Ascension Gifts Training Manual. This manual includes a complete description of the components of School of the Prophets course curriculum, plus preliminary information you will need as you begin your journey into the spiritual gifts. Individuals seeking to be ordained must complete the required course curriculum, plus travel with Dr. Vernette Rosier and the School of the Prophets on 3 scheduled mentoring trips, so that you will have the personal training, observation, correction, activation, and mentoring needed to be ordained under the network of Covenant Churches and Ministries. For additional information, please call us at 850-769-5442 or email us at dtspc@comcast.net.
What other things did you do to survive?
Go to the movies.
How would a movie help you survive?
Because it would take me out of my head. And I'm able to, it'll take me out of my head, and I'm focused on what's going on in the movie. And that's why I like action-packed. I don't need anything that's touchy-feely. If my emotions are raw for some reason, I don't need to go to the movies and cry. Give me an action-packed movie, because then that gives me a release.
So how is that different from repressing and suppressing?
Because I go back and I'll address it.
So you're just taking a break?
Yes, just a break.
Okay.
Yeah, because when you repress it or suppress it, you're not going back to it.
Okay.
And that's what makes it more difficult as the years go on, and how you develop a lot of insecurities and low self-esteem and a lot of rejection and abandonment, because all that stuff has been repressed. So you really don't know why you feel rejected, or you're in a group of people and you feel like you're by yourself, or you're wondering if these people really like me. It's because it's been so suppressed that became a way of life for you.
Okay. So you're not ignoring the things that have happened to you. You're not burying the things that have happened to you. You're not going into denial, pretending that it's something or someone else.
Yeah.
But you're actually looking at what happened, and you're looking for a cure.
Yes. Yes. And I've always known that I was sexually abused, but I never just talked about it because of my own fears of who would know, what would they say about me. Well, I feel like an outcast in my family already, so I bet I still shouldn't say anything about it. But I've always
But you're
known.
telling the whole world now.
Oh, yes, because I done talked about it and talked about it. That is just, I'm happy to talk about it because it's no longer keeping me captive. I don't have to walk around looking over my shoulder or fearing that my past is going to come back and haunt me because I addressed it.
So when you don't talk about it, you give it power to become a predator.
Absolutely.
Okay. So exposing all of these secrets
Absolutely.
is liberating.
Yes.
Okay.
Truly.
All right. Now you mentioned to me that before your brother passed, I hope this is not too touchy for you. Before your brother passed, you actually confronted.
Yes. On his deathbed.
Okay.
Yeah, he was dying. And I took that opportunity because I knew he was about to leave. And this was in 2000.
And your brother was in California.
In Las Vegas, yes.
And you were living in
Florida.
Florida.
Yes.
And you flew to California.
Yes, I flew to California to see him, but I confronted him over the phone.
Okay. And then you flew to California to sit by his bed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Go ahead.
after I confronted him, and I explained to him that I had these memories, and I remembered things that he said and things that he had done, and he said he didn't remember. And I said, oh, well, I do. And so once I told him, he kept saying, I'm so sorry, and I did not know at that time that he, too, was sexually abused
Wow.
by a relative
So when did you find that out?
on his deathbed.
Wow.
And so once I talked with him, I forgave him, and then I felt better, which was the reason why I was able to go out there and sit by his side.
Okay. So do you think if you had not confronted him about the molestation, he would not have had the opportunity to vent,
Correct.
to share with you? And you gave a good definition of vent. And yeah, I love that too. You can tell us in a few minutes what that actually means. But he would not have had an opportunity to share with someone that he had been sexually molested. Were you the first person he had shared that with?
No, I wasn't. He actually told my mother about it years before then, but I didn't know anything about it. So he told me, but he did not want to talk about it.
Okay.
He wanted to just let it just be in the past.
What made him tell you about it?
Because I confronted him.
So he was explaining to you why he
I'm
did-
assuming. So,
Okay.
yes, but I don't know.
He was trying to find a source of where he learned that from, that type of behavior.
Possibly.
Why
yes.
would he do the same thing that was done to him? Was he around the same age that you were?
Let me see. I was about 7. Yes, he was probably about. No, he said he was about 4 or 5.
Wow. So what does it mean to vent?
To vent, hope this isn't too vulgar, but it really means just to vomit all of the toxic emotions that are down within. Is to get all the infection out. By way of talking, some people need to use a physical manifestation. There's some therapeutic techniques where they will give you a bat and a ball or a pillow, and they will allow you to beat like a wall or a couch. It's to get all the aggression that you feel, which is the anger that's built up on the inside from all the abuse.
Wow. Spiritual abuse. You talked about spiritual abuse, and that's a touchy subject with a lot of people that are in ministry or churches, but it's a subject that needs to be addressed. It does not mean that every pastor abuses someone. It does not mean every apostle, prophet, evangelist, teacher. It does not mean that because something happened in your home that you label everything as spiritual.
Let the Prophet Speak is reaching the nations through our weekly broadcast on Fox, WPGX, and YouTube. We receive countless emails, Facebook posts, and tweets about the teachings of Dr. Vernette Rosier on Let the Prophet Speak. You can help us to continue to reach the world with your generous financial donation. For a gift of any amount, you can receive a CD of today's teaching on emotional healing. For a gift of $50 or more, you will receive Dr. Vernette Rosier's book, Healing the Whole Person, Spirit, Body, and Soul, Winona Allen's book, Ouch, This Hurts, A Journey to Emotional Wholeness, plus today's teaching on CD. To make a donation, contact Healing the Whole Person Ministries at 850-769-5442. Email us at healingthewholeperson@comcast.net, or you can donate securely through PayPal. Thank you for supporting Let the Prophet Speak and helping us to reach the nation.
Spiritual abuse. What is your definition of that?
My definition of spiritual abuse is when you have anyone in a leadership position that is supposed to, quote unquote, look out for your soul and who is leading you down the path of righteousness, for God and everything, but they use their position of power to manipulate yours.
Okay. To manipulate you how?
Manipulate your emotions, especially when they prey upon you. It's just like a predator. They can prey upon you if they kind of sense that you're insecure or you're lacking like a mother figure, or you're lacking a father, or you're have a lot of feelings of rejection or abandonment. They use that for their own self-gratification.
Okay. You had that happen to you?
Yes.
Something's moving, something's changing. See His glory, feels like heaven on earth.